Sydney Sweeney reflects on body image worries growing up. "I just wanted to hide." It's a sentence that sounds simple at first. But behind those words is a deeply personal story, one that touches on insecurity, public scrutiny, Hollywood expectations, and the complicated relationship millions of Americans have with their own bodies. And when the person sharing that story happens to be one of the most recognizable young stars in Hollywood today, the conversation becomes even bigger. Because for many viewers, the name Sydney Sweeney instantly brings to mind red carpet glamour, hit television shows, and a meteoric rise in the entertainment industry. From her breakout performance in the HBO drama Euphoria to her roles in The White Lotus and the romantic comedy Anyone But You, Sweeney has become one of Hollywood's fastest-rising stars. But in a recent reflection, the actress opened up about something far more vulnerable than career success: the insecurity she felt about her body growing up, and the pressure that came with being different. And her honesty is striking a chord across the country, because the story she tells is one that millions recognize. A young girl feeling uncomfortable in her own skin, a teenager struggling with unwanted attention, and a public figure now confronting the realities of fame in an age where social media commentary never stops. Tonight, we're taking a deeper look at what Sydney Sweeney revealed, why her comments are resonating so strongly with audiences, and what her story says about body image, celebrity culture, and the pressures facing young people in America today. It's hard to imagine now, looking at the confident Hollywood star who dominates red carpets and headlines major projects, that Sydney Sweeney once felt the overwhelming urge to hide her body. But according to the actress, that's exactly how she felt growing up. Sweeney was born in 1997 in the state of Washington and spent much of her childhood in a rural environment outside the city of Spokane. Her early life was far removed from the bright lights of Hollywood. She grew up in a tight-knit family, participating in sports, outdoor activities, and school events like many American kids. But as she entered her teenage years, her body began to develop earlier than many of her peers. And with that development came attention. Attention she says she didn't want. In interviews discussing her past, Sweeney explained that she often felt self-conscious about her body during those years. According to her own recollection, she was uncomfortable with the way people looked at her, and even more uncomfortable with the assumptions that came with it. "I just wanted to hide," she said when reflecting on that period of her life. It's a statement that reveals something deeper than simple insecurity. For many young people, particularly girls, physical development can bring social pressure, judgment, and unwanted attention long before they are emotionally prepared to deal with it. And for Sweeney, that experience left a lasting impression. Even as she began pursuing acting, a career that would eventually require public exposure, auditions, and constant visibility, those insecurities did not immediately disappear. In fact, in many ways, they followed her. The irony is striking. Hollywood, an industry that celebrates beauty and image, can also amplify insecurities. For young performers especially, the pressure to meet expectations about appearance can be overwhelming. When Sydney Sweeney first began acting professionally in her teenage years, she entered a world where physical image is constantly discussed, analyzed, and sometimes criticized. Her early credits included guest appearances on television shows such as Criminal Minds and Grey's Anatomy. These roles helped her build experience in the industry, but they also exposed her to the realities of working in Hollywood. Casting decisions, wardrobe discussions, and on-screen representation all play a role in shaping how actors feel about themselves. For Sweeney, navigating that environment while still growing into adulthood was not always easy. But over time, her career began to accelerate dramatically. The turning point came with the HBO drama Euphoria, where she portrayed Cassie Howard, a character whose storyline revolves heavily around themes of insecurity, validation, and the search for self-worth. The role brought Sweeney widespread recognition and critical attention, but it also sparked conversations about how female characters are portrayed on screen and how audiences interpret those portrayals. Cassie's story in Euphoria is complex and often controversial, exploring vulnerability, relationships, and the intense emotional struggles of adolescence. And while the character is fictional, the themes resonate with real experiences. In many ways, Sweeney's own reflections on body image mirror the issues her character confronts. In interviews, she has acknowledged that the discussion surrounding her appearance has sometimes overshadowed other aspects of her work. Social media platforms allow fans to celebrate celebrities, but they also create spaces where criticism and objectification can flourish. For Sweeney, this means that conversations about her acting performances are sometimes accompanied by endless commentary about her body. Her willingness to speak openly about insecurity, body image, and the pressures of fame is part of what has drawn such strong reactions from fans. Because her story isn't just about Hollywood. It's about growing up in a world where physical appearance is constantly judged. Experts who study body image say that stories like Sweeney's highlight a broader issue affecting millions of Americans. According to psychologists and sociologists researching self-perception, young people today face unprecedented levels of exposure to idealized images. Television, film, advertising, and social media all contribute to a cultural environment where appearance is often treated as a measure of value. And that pressure can start early. Studies in the United States have shown that many teenagers report dissatisfaction with their bodies, regardless of gender. But the pressure tends to fall especially heavily on young women, who often face conflicting expectations about how they should look. For someone like Sydney Sweeney, who grew up during the rise of social media platforms, that environment was unavoidable. And once she became famous, the scrutiny intensified. Every photograph, every red carpet appearance, every social media post became subject to commentary. But despite the criticism that sometimes comes with public visibility, Sweeney has also gained enormous support from fans who appreciate her honesty. Many viewers say they relate to her story, not because they share her fame, but because they understand the feelings she describes. The urge to hide, the discomfort of being judged, the struggle to accept one's own body. In recent years, the conversation around body image has begun to shift. Celebrities, activists, and mental health professionals have pushed for more open discussions about self-esteem and unrealistic beauty standards. Actors and public figures who share their experiences can help normalize those conversations. And Sydney Sweeney's reflection appears to be contributing to that broader cultural shift. Her comments come at a time when discussions about representation and body positivity are becoming increasingly common in American media. Shows like Euphoria often explore themes of identity, sexuality, and insecurity, topics that resonate strongly with younger audiences. But Sweeney's personal story reminds viewers that the actors themselves are not immune to those same struggles. Behind the characters and the red carpet images are real people navigating complicated emotions. Meanwhile, Sweeney's career continues to expand rapidly. In addition to television roles, she has taken on major film projects and production work. Her performance in the 2023 romantic comedy Anyone But You helped demonstrate her versatility as an actress, moving beyond dramatic television into mainstream film. And she has also stepped into the role of producer, working to develop projects that align with her creative vision. That transition reflects a broader trend among young actors in Hollywood who want more control over the stories they tell. But even as her professional influence grows, Sweeney's reflections about her past show that success doesn't erase earlier struggles. In many ways, those experiences shape the perspective she brings to her work. On social media, reactions to her comments have been intense. Many fans have praised her for speaking openly about insecurity and body image, saying her honesty helps others feel less alone. Others have pointed out the irony that someone widely considered a symbol of Hollywood beauty still faced deep self-doubt growing up. That contrast, supporters say, highlights how universal these feelings can be. No matter how someone looks from the outside, insecurity can still exist. And in the era of constant online comparison, that truth resonates with many Americans. Young viewers especially often see celebrities as distant or unattainable figures. When those celebrities reveal vulnerability, it can shift the conversation. Instead of perfection, the focus becomes authenticity. For Sydney Sweeney, that authenticity may ultimately become one of the defining aspects of her public image. Rather than presenting herself as flawless, she has increasingly emphasized openness about challenges, whether discussing body image, career pressure, or the realities of working in the entertainment industry. And for fans who grew up watching her rise from small television roles to major Hollywood projects, that honesty feels genuine. Because behind the fame is a story that began in a small town in Washington state, with a young girl trying to figure out who she was and how to feel comfortable in her own skin. That journey, she says, has not always been easy. But by sharing it publicly, she may be helping others navigate their own struggles with self-image. And now the conversation continues. As discussions around body image, media representation, and self-esteem evolve in American culture, voices like Sydney Sweeney's play an important role in shaping how those issues are understood. Her reflections remind us that the pressures surrounding appearance don't disappear with success. If anything, fame can magnify them. But they also show that vulnerability, even from someone living under the spotlight of Hollywood, can create connection. And that connection is why her story is resonating so widely today. If you found this deep dive meaningful, stay with us for more stories that go beyond the headlines and explore the real experiences shaping today's culture. Because sometimes, the most powerful stories aren't just about fame. They're about the human experiences behind it. As Sydney Sweeney's words continue to circulate across interviews, entertainment media, and social media platforms, the conversation surrounding body image and celebrity culture is only growing louder. What began as a deeply personal reflection from the actress has now evolved into a much larger national discussion about identity, perception, and the pressure of growing up in a world where appearance is constantly under scrutiny. To truly understand why Sweeney's comments are resonating so strongly with audiences, it helps to take a closer look at the path that led her here, a journey that stretches from a quiet childhood in the Pacific Northwest to the very center of Hollywood's spotlight. Long before she became a global star, Sydney Sweeney was simply a young girl growing up in the state of Washington, in a region known more for forests and lakes than film studios and celebrity culture. Her upbringing took place largely outside the city of Spokane, where life moved at a slower pace than the entertainment capitals of the world. Family members have often described her childhood as active and outdoors-oriented. She was involved in sports, school activities, and community events, a lifestyle typical of many American kids growing up in small-town environments. But even during those early years, Sweeney showed signs of determination that would later define her career. According to interviews she has given over the years, her interest in acting began after she auditioned for a small independent film project being shot in her area. When she became fascinated by the process, she reportedly created a detailed presentation to convince her parents to allow her to pursue acting more seriously. That presentation, she has said, included a multi-year plan outlining how she could build a career in the industry. For a teenager, it was an unusually strategic approach, and it worked. Soon after, her family made the significant decision to relocate to Los Angeles, the heart of the American film and television industry, so she could pursue auditions more regularly. For many aspiring actors, that move represents the beginning of a difficult and uncertain journey. Los Angeles is filled with hopeful performers chasing the same dream, and the competition can be overwhelming. Sweeney's early years in the city were defined by small roles, auditions, and the constant effort required to build a reputation in the industry. She appeared in a variety of television shows throughout the early stages of her career, including guest roles in long-running programs like Criminal Minds and Grey's Anatomy. These roles provided valuable experience, but they were only the first steps in a long path toward recognition. For young actors, those early years often come with intense pressure. Auditions can be unpredictable. Roles are limited, and success is far from guaranteed. At the same time, performers must navigate the expectations of the entertainment industry, expectations that often place significant emphasis on appearance. For Sweeney, who had already struggled with body image concerns during her teenage years, this environment could easily have intensified those insecurities. But she continued working. Over time, her performances began to attract more attention, particularly for her ability to portray emotionally complex characters. That skill eventually led to the role that would change everything. In 2019, HBO premiered a new drama series that quickly became one of the most talked-about shows on television, Euphoria. The series, created by filmmaker Sam Levinson, explores the lives of high school students navigating issues such as addiction, relationships, identity, and mental health. Its visual style, raw storytelling, and controversial themes made it an immediate cultural phenomenon. And for Sydney Sweeney, the show offered the opportunity to play one of its most emotionally complicated characters. Cassie Howard, the role Sweeney portrays in Euphoria, is a teenager whose storyline revolves around insecurity, validation, and the desire to feel loved. The character struggles with self-worth and repeatedly seeks approval through relationships, even when those relationships become destructive. For audiences, Cassie's journey is often uncomfortable to watch because it reflects real emotional vulnerabilities. For Sweeney as an actress, portraying that level of vulnerability required extraordinary emotional depth. Critics quickly took notice. Her performance was widely praised for its intensity and authenticity, helping to elevate her profile in the entertainment industry. But the show's success also brought something else: massive public attention. Almost overnight, Sweeney became a recognizable face in American pop culture. Her work on Euphoria was followed by another critically acclaimed project, the HBO series The White Lotus. In that show, she played Olivia Mossbacher, a sharp and often cynical college student vacationing with her wealthy family at a luxury resort. The role demonstrated a very different side of her acting abilities, allowing her to portray a character defined by sarcasm, privilege, and social commentary. With two high-profile HBO series airing within a short time of each other, Sweeney's career momentum accelerated dramatically. Suddenly, she wasn't just another young actress trying to make it in Hollywood. She was one of the industry's fastest rising stars. Yet with that recognition came a new set of challenges. When actors become widely known, public attention often extends beyond their performances. Their personal lives, their relationships, their clothing choices, and especially their appearance can become topics of constant discussion. For Sweeney, the attention surrounding her body became particularly intense. Online conversations frequently focused on her physical appearance rather than her acting work. And while some of those comments were positive, others were objectifying or dismissive. This dynamic highlights a broader issue in celebrity culture. Female performers in particular often face a disproportionate amount of scrutiny regarding their bodies. Even when they deliver powerful performances, the conversation can shift towards superficial topics. For Sweeney, who had already experienced insecurity about her body while growing up, navigating that level of attention required resilience. Instead of retreating from the spotlight, however, she gradually began to speak more openly about the realities of that experience. Her recent reflection, describing how she once just wanted to hide, represents part of that ongoing openness. It reveals a side of the actress that audiences rarely see behind glamorous photos and polished interviews. And it has prompted many people to reconsider how society talks about body image. Because when someone who appears confident and successful shares such vulnerability, it challenges assumptions about what confidence really looks like. Meanwhile, Sweeney's career has continued expanding into new territory. In 2023, she starred opposite Glenn Powell in the romantic comedy Anyone But You. The film marked an important step in her career, showcasing her ability to lead a mainstream theatrical release. Romantic comedies require a different kind of performance than intense television dramas. They rely on chemistry, timing, and charisma, qualities that connect with audiences in a more lighthearted way. Anyone But You performed strongly at the box office and became a popular streaming title afterward, further solidifying Sweeney's status as a bankable star. At the same time, she has been expanding her role behind the camera through her production company. That move reflects a broader trend among young actors who want more creative control over the projects they pursue. By producing as well as acting, Sweeney is positioning herself not just as a performer, but as a storyteller shaping the kinds of narratives that reach audiences. But even as her professional achievements grow, the conversation about body image remains closely tied to her public identity. In some ways, this reflects the broader tension within modern celebrity culture. Fans celebrate authenticity